promote the asset industry as an institutional grade investment class. So what do we mean by this is we find that there's a lot of gaps in this industry in terms of regulations, in terms of sometimes tax issues, legal issues. And what we want to do is to create a structure where everyone can discuss how we can promote this industry to be one that is, at the same time, it promotes a healthy environment that investors can be protected, and it promotes a healthy environment that investors can be protected, and at the same time, it promotes innovation and adoption of blockchain technology. We want to do. We want to become a conversation platform between the industry and the government. And for example, in November 1st, SFC is actually came out with a notice. How many of you have seen that notice? November 1st. You have seen that notice. November 1st. So how many of you understand the notice? Understand it. Wow, thank you. So, what's your name? Sorry?
Nita.
Nita. So, probably will invite Nita up for our next session, right? Thank you very much. Yeah. So, like, I think after the November 1st notice when SSC came out, there's a lot of things we still want to know a bit more. What exactly does SSC want? What do they mean by putting a exchange in the sandbox? Basically, my 2 cents worth is this should be a positive move for the industry. Probably we can talk about it at a later time. But again, some things, the second thing that we talked about, legislation. So we hope to be able to be a voice for the industry when we are talking with the SFC. For example, if you want to regulate in this way, what's the pros and cons of you doing it this way? Would you be able to, at the same time, still considering the protections and creating a healthy environment for an investor, can you still be more flexible in your approach? These are things that we want to do in our discussions with the SFC. And also finally, to be a stat body that promotes a best practice for listing of different projects. For example, if you want to list a utility token offering, what should be some of the standards you should hold yourself to, or the project to? And for example, you want to do an STO, what are some standards you should hold this offering to? So these are some things I want to do. I just want to stress that this is a nonprofit, so a very big thank you to our sponsors for sponsoring an event. Very big thank you for Common Works for sponsoring the event. Please give Common Works a big round of applause for sponsoring this event. So this is what we want to do. Yes. Hello. Yeah, so basically this is what we want to do. We would like to promote crypto assets as a viable institutional grade investment class. There's still, I have to say there's still a lot of gaps for this. Next. So basically this is the timeline and roadmap we hope to achieve. So right now, this is the official first meeting of Crypto Assets Federation. I just want to stress something. We didn't try to do this immediately after SFC came out with their regulation. Oh yes, SFC came out with regulation. Let's create a Crypto Asset Federation to do this. No, it was not. So if you actually check back on the history, we started to conceive of Crypto Assets Federation sometime in September, between August and September this year. Huh? Crypto assets. So yeah, crypto assets. So it doesn't matter which one it is, crypto assets. Yeah, as long as it's not physical assets, so that's fine. So like we actually conceived of the idea sometime in July, August. Hello? Yeah, July and August. And like we hope to have the official launch of Crypto Assets Federation in Q1. We're still inviting a lot more people who would like to contribute to this industry, to work with us on some research and some framework recommendations for the industry. We welcome anyone and everyone to help out with this. And hopefully by the end of our journey, we'll be able to say we played a part in helping the entire industry to become an institutional grade investment. So what do we mean? Institutional grade investment is pretty high. So if we do that, I think a lot of us will be pretty happy. I just want to do a short survey here. How many of you own crypto assets? Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, tokens, or whatever. High up. Yes, this is the winter, but I'm still proud to be holding Bitcoin. Again. All right, so how many of you have never invested in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any other crypto assets before? Can I see your show of hands? Okay. Now, for those who did not raise your hands, you can raise your hands right now. So, okay. Oh, so I think there's a bit more people that haven't raised their hands just now. So, but this is what we hope to do. So, I think if one day we are able that through this federation and through other collaboration with other associations and with the government, we are able to help crypto assets to turn into an institution of great investment class. I think generally, most of the people in this room will be pretty happy. So that means like we finally have all the big monies coming in to create a more professional environment. Liquidity will probably be even better. And I think volatility will probably be a bit less volatile. I don't know whether that's a good thing or bad thing, but I think they will bring a lot more structure and professionalism to this entire industry. So some of the things that we would like to ask for collaboration from anyone and everyone is on this couple of major issues. So on the legal side, to provide a framework for how utility tokens and security tokens can have a closer tie to the founders and members of the company who issued all these tokens. So at least we'll eliminate a lot of fraud. How can we strike a better balance between legislation and project initiators and entrepreneurs? And on tax side, like how do we adjust for tax through the many different jurisdictions in crypto assets? Accounting standards, how can we provide a fair accounting standards for the different parts for different crypto assets? And how do we actually determine crypto assets on a company's balance scores? As an investor, as an issuer, or as a buyer of the utility products that you can use the token to exchange for? And audits, what are some standards that we can hope to achieve? Can we have a common standard for crypto assets in the near future? Next. So we are asking for collaboration with anyone who likes to contribute. And for us, very simply, if you do contribute to any of these portions, your names and what will definitely be acknowledged in the contribution that you make. And so what are the benefits as a member? Firstly, we do not promote any token. So if I do have a slip of my mouth to say what I have invested in or what I like to invest in or what's my thoughts on this, I have to put in the full disclaimer. I'm not asking you to buy, I'm not asking you to invest, it's just my personal opinion. So we do not promote any companies, we do not promote any tokens, we do not promote any coins for anyone to buy. So if you would like for us to showcase a project, you don't have to give us anything, we do not ask for anything, but please make sure that your project fits into the standard that we want. So we are going to have a standard for projects that should be showcased, but it has to meet our standard. For example, you're going to have a legal opinion, you're going to have this, you're going to have that, you're going to have a viable business plan, blah, 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 blah. You're going to have that. So, and more importantly, what are the benefits you can get? First, we will share some free seminars. Like today, we will invite speakers here, people who are prominent in this industry and have very good knowledge in the industry to share freely with everyone. So the only cost is the food. And hopefully in future, because we're a non-profit organization, we hope that we can have some small donations to pay for a lot of these small food that we have. And secondly, I think it offers a great opportunity for everyone to network and make a few friends. I'm sure in the last half an hour, at least you have met someone that you do not know, you've spoken to them a bit more, you made one or two more friends in this industry. And hopefully because of that, you get a lot more opportunities to collaborate on different projects in blockchain, to actually work on some businesses related to blockchain. But finally, I think this is very important because winter is here. So literally winter is coming in Hong Kong, and literally the market is super cold for crypto assets right now. You can always do it with a little bit of warmth and a little bit of camaraderie and to make a new friend, to wrap your hands around each other and say, hey, it's okay, next year will be better. So I think it's important for anyone in this industry to be able to be a participant for the long term and not just stay and I'm just doing this industry for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, you see the market is down, you drop out. I think for a lot of people who have been in this industry for more than 5 to 6 years, they have really reaped the benefits. Personally, I think as an asset class, as a technology, and as a business, this is just starting. The entire crypto asset industry is just starting. And I would strongly urge you and encourage you to stay in. So you always need a little bit of warmth. So thank you very much for listening to my sharing for the Crypto Assets Federation. And we'd like to thank our different sponsors for this small event. Please give your round of applause for these sponsors, including the beer. I always love to sponsor the beer because that's the most important thing. Next. And if you want to find out more about us, please join our meetup sessions. And also please look for our dear Joanne, who has put in a lot of effort to prepare a registration form. So is registration free or? I have to pass the mic over to Joanne, please.
It's free for today only. No, we encourage more people to join, and most importantly, we want more corporates to join this community. So please fill up the form. As I said, if you're a member, next time we're gonna do some coding classes and some blockchain 101, some basic blockchain classes. We encourage you to. We'll offer you free courses if you're a member.
Thank you to Joanne. Please give her a round of applause. And basically, she organized this whole thing, so please do a very big round of applause to Joanne. Next. And please join our different social media platforms. We should be launching this different social media pretty soon. Our website is ready? Oh, perfect. Next. Next. I just want to show a very quick example of some of the different training materials that we share. This is basically just an example of what we do in Crypto Assets Federation. Again, this is pretty much free. We talk about do some simple analysis and we give some people simple knowledge about what is crypto asset industry. So we previously in one of the seminars that we did on a pro bono basis, we actually did some different calculations. So a lot of people do not know that the liquidity of Bitcoin is so high. So compared to basically liquidity has really increased substantially over the years for Bitcoin, 400 times in 4 years, which is astronomical. Prices has increased by 43 times, given we're still in winter, but still, this is actual numbers. But obviously this is September, and basically price of Ethereum, even for 2 years, is a huge 23 times increase. So basically, I just want to share what we do. Previous slide, please. Yeah, this is something that's pretty interesting. So we did a comparison for Bitcoin and Tencent to show the different liquidity between Bitcoin and Tencent. Even though the market cap for Tencent is substantially bigger than Bitcoin, but its liquidity of Bitcoin is a lot bigger. Sometimes a lot of people will contend that a lot of the trading liquidity in Bitcoin is fake. I agree. I can also say that if all the people that's creating a market for Tencent are to get out of the market, probably its liquidity for Tencent will decrease too. So still, we just want to show the difference in the amount of liquidity for Bitcoin and Tencent. Today, Bitcoin's liquidity was 8 billion, like over the past 24 hours. So that's pretty substantial. Next. So these are just some things that we share. Next. So previous slide. So I mean, sometimes we talk about how to evaluate projects. These are some of the methodology that we incorporate to say what are the important things we need in a project. Business plan, execution team, legal, structure, technology, build, token economics. You actually do not see white paper here, because personally, I don't think that's that important. A lot of people in their white paper, they don't actually have a full business plan, but we'll actually always encourage people to look at a business plan instead of just the white paper. So you ask for a business plan. So next. This is one other thing that we did. It was pretty interesting. We actually said what was the difference between crypto assets. I'm talking about utility token, not a security token. So how is it different from a normal equity? Next. So we actually did a price comparison. Next. So if you actually invest into a utility token, even based on some fundamental analysis of the numbers, you might actually get a better value for utility token, ceteris paribus. That's it. So that's just a very, very short sharing of what we did for some of the training courses. If anyone would like to share their knowledge of crypto assets or blockchain or anything related, well, please let us know. We will arrange a speaker slot for you in one of our next sessions. Thank you so much. So without further ado, I shall invite our next speaker, Mr. Henry Yu. So Henry, please come up here. So Henry basically is a pretty good friend that we've known for, although we do not know each other for many years, but in the short time that I've known him, I found him to be an extremely charismatic and knowledgeable person. So I think he has advice for a lot of different companies in Hong Kong that has launched ICOs, and it's probably one of the best lawyers in Hong Kong to ask for advice if you are interested to do any blockchain related or ICO related or token offering, or probably right now his pet topic, or any security token offering. Please give Henry a big round of applause.
So thanks for the introductions. So it's good to see some of the familiar faces here and some new faces here as well. So maybe I'll give a bit of introduction of myself for those who don't know me. So I am the founding partner of NY Law Office and also a Henry Yu Associates. So both law firms are, but the same group of people, but we spin off a new brand, particularly for fintech and blockchain. So I started practicing back in 2001. Used to be an IPO lawyer, M&A. So I did some of the biggest IPO, like the ICBC IPO, the A+H. And then I joined the investment banking world in 2010. So for the ICBC investment banking arm in ICBC International as the first qualified lawyer, and stuff that legal team did that. I came to know about Bitcoin. I came to know Bitcoin back in 2012, 13-ish. I looked at the price that was exactly $100-something at that time. So I was really fascinated by that. I was in a scenario like this, some bars and some food and drinks, and I was introduced to the idea of Bitcoin. And then I must say I like the community more than just the tokens, because I find people are really fascinating. They just talk about some concept. They actually launch it. So you see AMEX at that time, they just launched the crypto exchanges as the first one. And then Big Macs now, it was a startup at that time. I was still playing squash right after at that time. And now you became also now it's one of the biggest of the futures bigger futures platform. So and in 2015, after a couple of years, I decided to found a law firm and one law office, particularly to serve this Bitcoin blockchain community. A lot of people at that time thought I was pretty crazy. It's like, why do you want to focus on this? A lot of risk involved. It's a bubble that will die. And then now, in 2018, it's like, oh, it's so fantastic. You guys started long-term deal, right? You did pretty good at that. So I think, everything's from hindsight. But let's stop here, and then I will focus on some of the more interesting topic as to what, as they said, the announcement, the 1st of November 2018 announcement made by the SFC. Basically, there are two parts of that. One in relation to crypto exchanges, and the other in relation to crypto funds. But for the purpose today, I will focus on the crypto exchanges. Sorry for that, I don't prepare, even though it's a crypto, I don't prepare any slides here. So I will just talk through it and maybe use the most traditional whiteboard to write down some key points. So yes, we have received a lot of requests. It's good that 1 hour 40 fully understand what is meant by the statement. So maybe I'll just recap that. But you don't have to make notes. I would circulate, maybe ask Joanne. I've written an article on this. I think some of you have received it. For those who have not received it, Joanne will have one. I've been waiting for this, I'm going to say, this statement for a very long time. Let's say for the last 3-4 years. Part of the reasons, what actually the most interesting for me is that actually they adopt a wider concept of virtual assets. some of you may know, they sort of create the concept of virtual commodity. They say, oh, after the timeline in 2015, Hong Kong MA basically classified Bitcoin as virtual commodity. So in a sense, it's not securities. So, and then they say, oh, and then later in 2016, they say Bitcoin or other token with similar features are virtual commodities. But after that, they have not clarified what does it mean by similar features. Still not yet, but at least is it either sharing similar features, Pluto, Neo, whatever, EOS, are they sharing? No one has an exact answer. As a lawyer, that's not legal definition. What does it mean by similar features? But in this statement, they actually adopted like the European concept, like there's a wider concept of virtual assets, which is very important. So what they say, virtual asset means are digital representations of value. So it includes cryptocurrencies, crypto assets, digital tokens such as utility tokens or securities or asset-backed tokens. They use the word includes, as you know. This is not a definition that you just say, oh, I basically refer all this. So all these are virtual assets. And what they want to say is now, oh, because I've given so many monies in the past 3 years, it has not died, so I have no other alternative but I have to cover it somewhere, somehow. So that's really good. And then they actually classify that three main terms, right? So it's the utility tokens, securities tokens, and asset-backed tokens. So they actually recognize that. And what is even more interesting, actually in one sentence, I look at it, they say they admit many tokens are not securities. They use the word many. So that's unlike the SEC, so like from the SEC US point of view, everything is securities, right? I think they have a very hard time to come up with a conclusion. It's like, if it's a securities, right? But I cannot come to a logic, but put that aside. But now Hong Kong has a different standpoint. They say many tokens are not securities. That's good. That's good for us, like for some of the exchanges that we have operating so far, they sort of have a bit of comfort from that. So after this, what is even better? They now say, now I will create, I know I can change the law, but now I can have to enforce the existing framework, the regulatory framework, the ethical, the type 1 to 10. And now I will create a regulatory sandbox for all these exchanges who are so big and so powerful influential in the market. So in order for us as SFC to regulate you guys. But they also admit, just because you guys I've been talking about like, you guys are only trading utility tokens. So strictly speaking, from a legal point of view, I don't have jurisdiction over you. So what should you do? You should trade at least one security. And then if you have 100 tokens on your platform, 99 of them could be utility tokens. But at least you have one security. They do not refer to security token, but they say, as long as you trade one securities, I can have jurisdiction over you. So they create these samples, and then they invite the players to come over to join. They say it's an opt-in, I'm not forcing you to join, but you can join, and it's voluntary basis. But so far, it sounds really good, right? And then the trick, I would say, is a trick. Oh, but they look at the criteria that they put the preliminary conditions that they say they intend to impose. That is the problem. What they say? First of all, I can understand, but first of all, they say all these tokens and all the traders on your platform must be professional investors. And they must have passed the suitability test. So the difficulty is that, of course, most of them would know the definition of a professional investor under SFO. That means you have the net asset over 8 million. That's not the difficult part. There are a lot of rich people in Hong Kong. The difficult part is you have to prove you're so rich. That is the difficult part. So if you're all solid exchanges, if you look at the oil list, I'm sure everyone is like the millionaires or even billionaires, but are you sure all of them, or any of them, or how many of them are willing to show you that bank statement in order to prove that they're so rich? And then to prove you the source of fund, the source of wealth. That is the question, right? So I'm not quite sure whether SSU will accept the explanation that, oh, I made all this from the cryptocurrencies. So I just trade on cryptocurrency for the last 3 years, so I make 10 million or 100 million. Not quite sure. And the other thing is, that creates a problem. And they say you have to pass the stability test. And even if you like, oh, I have 10, some of the sheet have 1 million users, right? So let's say 10% are willing to do that. Let's say that will be 100,000. But you have to physically verify each of all these 100,000 users pass this professional investor test. So we're talking about how much labor involved in doing this, right? Because I used to use in the investment banking world, and I know how difficult it is to onboard such a client. So you have a whole team onboarding team to do this. That's one big question. So they have also the AML CFT requirement. So they say the other than the PI, they say is the AML requirement. So you have to prove not just your money, you have to prove your tokens, your Bitcoin, Ethers are clean, basically. You have to add all that. How do they do that? They don't know. They say they have no answers, but you have to prove that somehow. You show me how to prove it. And then, that's the other tricky part. They say, not all these ICO tokens can be listed. They say that just only a very limited number of ICO tokens can be traded on these exchanges which are in the sandbox. What's the requirement? This ICO token must be, the token sale must be completed for more than 12 months. So if you look back at the very short history of the ICO, a lot of them has not completed. A lot of them which have been listed on the exchanges have not completed the closing sale for 12 months. They normally try to get listed within the first 2 months right out of the token sale, particularly in Hong Kong. So what does it mean by that? Exchanges, you have received all the hefty listing fees from all the ICO projects. Now you say, because I gave the sandbox, I have to do the listing. So it's a breach of the contract. Oh, so the list is sorry for that, I can't help you anymore. But they say, hey, and also I pay you all this, right? You get all this listing fee from me. What do? Are you going to return it back to us? It's a breach of contract, right? What happened? Even some of the biggest, talk about this, right? Some of the biggest tokens, like EOS, cannot pass the test as of today. They just, strictly speaking, they just finished the token sale in June this year, right? So they still have to wait for another 6 months before they can be traded for those exchanges in the sandbox. So this is the question. I don't know how to comply with. That's the thing. So for the others, I would say, I'm going to bore you guys, is the insurance. They say, oh, these exchanges have to buy insurance. You guys have to have the custodian arrangement for exchange. But as far as I understand, right, some of the exchanges do have tried to get insurance cover for that thing. Particularly, it's really extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get insurance exchanges, particularly for that whole wallet. It is really difficult. And as well as for the custodian, right? So that's very limited choices out there. And even they are willing to do custodian, so what sort of tokens they're willing to do it, that's remaining a question as well. And lastly, is that all these exchanges have to do regular reporting. So the question is, as an exchange, of course, you don't mind. But as a customer, I ask myself, right, as a customer of some of the exchanges, do you want your statement or your trading position to be regularly reported to the exchange? That's another question. So what does it mean? So we have talked to, since the announcement, the statement on the 1st of November, we have talked to a lot of these exchanges. So I don't need to say who, right? Some of them know who we are. Surprising, I say, oh, that looks like what it means to me is like now I'm building, as I said to some of the audience, like just right before that, they have built a colosseum. So it's a colosseum that invited gladiators to join us, and only the strongest and the fittest one will survive within the sandbox. They say it will last for a year. But the funny thing is that they say, I do not guarantee you to give you the Type 7 license at the end of this 1 year. I would think about it, but I cannot guarantee you. But you have to come and fight. But then let's say, after an existing exchange, which have like cut all the retail, do all the AML, they list all this token, and they say, you cannot guarantee me with the result. So it's a big price to pay. That's how it's it. But surprisingly, I mean, there are a lot of still exchanges are still interested in this sandbox. The big one, the small one, the new one, the old one. So that will be a very, as I said, it's a winter, but it's a really interesting winter that we can expect to go through. That's so far for the exchanges. Do you want me to talk about the STO a little bit on STO too? Okay. Because today the second part of the topic is the, yeah, you can circulate this article. The STO. Yes, STO, a lot of people talk about it, but I must say, at the beginning of this year, I'd say, if you have ICOs, right, why do you need STO? Because the entire idea about ICO is about innovations. In the white paper, you talk about new projects, new ideas, new models with the use of blockchain. So it's about innovation. Now, if you talk about STO, one main concept, I think everyone in the room, or hopefully I'll always tell the others, is all about compliance. So it's not innovation anymore. It's a little bit of innovation, but a lot more about compliance. So you have to change the mindset. You cannot say, oh, I want to do anything that I want. Yesterday, someone just told me, oh, a project team would say, I want to engage you, Henry. Can you do a project for us? What's your framework project? They say, I want to decentralize every stock in the world. I want to decentralize Apple. I want to decentralize Tencent. I want to decentralize everything, every stock. I say, first of all, right, there's an existing security store and company store in each of these jurisdictions. And secondly, there's a reason behind this. Think about this way, right? Do you actually think China or the Chinese government will allow Tencent to be owned, or in a sort of owned by, not say Americans, right, or Africans, right, or anyone, right? And similarly, right, would you expect Koreans, that Korean government would allow Samsung or LG to be majority owned by some foreigners as well? So I think that there are some like existing security store, company store to be observed, and there's reasons behind it for that to be posed. And similarly, a lot of people commonly ask and say, I want to the real estate securities tokens. I want fractional ownership in land. And one extreme example is say, oh, just like this building, to say, I want a fractional ownership. So each token represents 1 square foot of this place. But the thing is, you have to understand, a lot of people have to understand, for example, like Hong Kong doesn't allow it so far. Hong Kong still have a very traditional paper title deed system, and and even actually 15 years, 20 years back, we actually considered the UK registration system and did not pass through the legislation, and we are still using the old traditional title deed. So let's say for Hong Kong, it's not something quite feasible to have fractional ownership of a property. And similarly, for a lot of the other jurisdictions, let's say China, Thailand, Taiwan, they have restriction for foreigners to own certain areas of land and all that, right? And you still have to comply with that. So for STO, I would say, I'm not saying it's impossible in the future, but at least it would be really difficult if you are talking about, we're still in the very early stage of STO. I would just say, try something easier. There are a lot more questions and a lot more issues to be resolved. You don't have to resolve the hardest one. Just solve some, take a baby step now and do the first STO and prove it worked to the, let's say, the government, and then they will allow and open up this market for you for some of the other things. So what are the major issues so far, after talking all this like STOs and all that, what are the major issues? I would say I would reduce it to like 3.5. So the first issue is legal regulatory issues, how to like structure the token, how to do this and to do the STO. So luckily you have lawyers, so like we have structured so far in the past 3 months. We have actually visited like different countries, like some of you may know, I've visited like the Europe, the Southeast Asia countries, Singapore, Philippines and others, and actually look at like what's the best structure to accommodate different assets and all that. And I must say, just to keep it short, I think the best way is to tokenize the income stream of your assets. So let's say if you have real estate or if you have other stocks, right, shares, right. Instead of tokenized fractional, to think about fractional ownership in that, you may think about just tokenize your inventory of that asset. That is more feasible as of today, instead of fractional ownership of that asset. Artwork may be different, I would say, in this exception, may be doable. Mining, a lot of people, they still come to us and say they have a mine, they have gold mine, they have fractional ownership, but you have to understand, gold mine, the mining gold is a very precious resource for a lot of the countries, right? They do not allow a lot of restrictions for foreigners to own mines. Put that aside, so legal, so you can engage us and then we can do our structure and all that. Then secondly is about the IT issues, the smart contract issues. Right now, there are a lot of different, I would say, different standards. You know, in the past, ICO that is fairly settled that most of people are using ERC-20s for tokens. But now for the STO, I don't think there are still a lot of competing standards for this. Like Map are coming with a standard and all that. ERC like 1400 and all that, but that's not. Yeah, no one has confirmed. But I would say that's still an issue to be resolved maybe in the next few months. For the first batch of STOs, then people will decide which one is the best for them, or maybe a mixture of them. But on that aspect, I would say maybe the way we structure it, I would normally structure it in two forms. So I would normally a dual token structure. What we say is that one is the fungible and the other one is not fungible. I would urge you guys to maybe think about this. Is that part of the reason is that because as it's so new, no one can guarantee, even if you talk about fractional ownership, right? No one can guarantee that token can actually represent the ownership in that asset. Think about it this way. I explain it this way is that signature. We all have the paper signature, right? So on the check and all that, you have the oral signature. Then we suddenly come with a computer, we suddenly come with internet. And then of course, if I sign with a pen on the computer, right? That's it. You would assume that no people would say, you will have the same legal effect, or it will become binding. The contract what you sign on the paper, or sign on the computer will be as binding as the paper contract. But the reality is not. Hong Kong actually has to pass a ordinance called Electronic Signature Ordinance in order to recognize the legal effect of that electronic signature to have the same effect of the paper signature. So you have to understand, right now there's no tokenization ordinance to confirm the tokens have the same effect of the paper. So the reason why I said, other than the tokens, we will have a non-fungible tokens is to confirm the ownership of that particular asset. These are fallback positions. And I think lastly is about the listing venue. So that just people have to recognize is that there's very limited choices right now for listing of STOs. I know some of them. I've heard like some have already come up with an STO exchange on cloud and all that. We can think about. Okay. But there's still very limited choices right now. Maybe a couple of them in the US, maybe Coinbase is coming up. There are some rumors that like Singapore will have some exchange, STO exchange in the near future. So that's waiting to be seen. But that's something that you have to anticipate that will not be immediately available right now. But we are working also with those listing changes to make sure whatever structure we come up with, they are happy to be listed. And lastly, no one has so far talked about the last issue is about the distribution channels. Because in order to distribute these STO tokens, which is quite different from the ICO tokens. ICO token you can ask all this distribution channel, all the different countries to distribute on your behalf. In all the developed countries, you have to ask the broker-dealer, let's say for Hong Kong, you have to ask for the Type 1 license in order to distribute the STO tokens for you. So right now, what's missing is that there's no, I think, recognized players in this field. So if you want to go to Japan, you go to Korea, who will be the broker-dealer in those countries who are willing to distribute on your behalf, not just unknown players. Even if they may not be familiar with the cryptos, they have to be there to accompany maybe you guys to do the marketing and distribution in those jurisdictions. But right now, I think, that's something that needs to be worked out in the next 3 months, I would say. So that's all my sharing so far for this session.
Yes, we're going to have a panel discussion. introduce the panelists.
Can you invite all the speakers to the stage?